Today we are making queso chicken chili with roasted corn and jalapeños. This is a Crockpot recipe. To start, we're going to need 1 pound of chicken. I am using chicken thighs, even though the recipe calls for chicken breasts. I just like the flavor and the fat that the chicken thighs bring. So I'm using 3 chicken thighs, which is approximately 1 pound. For me, your chicken thighs might be different sizes. Next, we're going to be adding some salsa. I went a little overboard. We were only supposed to add 1.5 of our 3 total cups of salsa. At this point, I added all of my salsa, and you know what? It turned out just fine. But if you want to do it by the book, you're only supposed to add 1.5 cups of your salsa. And I'm just using a mild, chunky salsa, but you can use your favorite salsa. We're also going to add 1.5 cups of water. Now it's time to add our spices. We need 1 teaspoon of cumin, 2 teaspoons of chili powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm using coarse kosher salt. Then I'm going to give it a stir, make sure our salsa and our water are mixed together, make sure our spices are incorporated so it gets all over the chicken. And we're going to cook this for 3 to 4 hours on high or 6 to 7 hours on low. The recipe did note that if you're using an Instapot, to cook it for 20 minutes on high pressure. Next, we need to do some roasting. My oven is preheating to 450 degrees. Now, I have made this recipe a couple times before, years ago, and the recipe had you roasting your corn and your bell peppers in the skillet, and I really struggled with this. I stirred too much so they didn't brown, or I waited too long and I would get some burnt spots. But the author must have changed the main recipe. She still puts ingredients for skillet roasting, but now we have an oven roasting option. So I have a large baking sheet and 3 bell peppers. You can use whatever color you want. I like to add some color to mine, so I have a green one, an orange one, and a red one. They just add a little different flavor, a little different sweetness. And then we're going to small dice these peppers. Once you have all of your peppers diced, now it's time for some corn. You need 1 can of sweetened corn, drained and rinsed. I'm not sure why we're rinsing, maybe it's salt control, but go ahead and spread those out onto your pan, and we're going to take a paper towel and dab your veggies dry, because water is the enemy of browning when we are trying to roast these. So you're not going to be able to get all of the water off, but do your best. I'm going to use a little bit of light olive oil and just drizzle some on top. And then go ahead and mix those all together so everything gets all coated with oil. You could definitely have put all of your veggies in a bowl. It might make this tossing them in oil a little bit easier, but I'll leave it up to you. And then go ahead and spread them back out into an even layer. And we are going to roast these for, the original recipe says 10 to 15 minutes. That was not long enough. I don't know if I'd needed to spend a lot more time trying to get water off of my veggies, but it took me 25 minutes in total. So this is after 15 minutes. I'm going to give them a little bit of a stir, but as we know, these are going back in the oven because these are not brown and roasty looking. So this is after 25 minutes and we're starting to look a little roasty toasty. I think I could have done 5 more minutes to get a little bit more brown on my veggies, but this is where I left it. And you can do this chopping and roasting anytime between when you first put your chicken in a crock pot and getting it cooking towards the end, towards the last hour of the chicken cooking. I cooked mine right away and I just left them out to cool, and then you can package them away in a container and pop them in the fridge until your chicken is done. So again, this can be done at any point. But once your chicken is done, take out the chicken and shred them. I'm using forks. I've heard the method where you use a hand mixer, and that's a super quick and efficient way to shred chicken. I have not done that myself. Let me know in the comments if you have done that and if it works. Once you are done shredding your chicken, just pop it back into the crock pot. At this point, we are also going to add into our crock pot our roasted veggies. Stir those all in, and at this time, this would be when you are supposed to add the other cup and a half of salsa, if you didn't add at the beginning like I did. We're also going to add in a can of black beans, drained and rinsed. This recipe also calls for a jalapeno. Part of me wishes I would have diced my jalapeno and roasted it along with my other peppers and corn, but that is okay. I am wearing gloves. I would recommend you wear gloves if you're someone who touches their face, touches their eyes for any reason, because you just don't need that spicy juice in your eyeballs. But if you want spicy juice in your queso chicken chili, you can leave in as many spines and seeds as you want. That is where the heat comes from. But I took all the seeds and the spines out of my jalapeno, and my chili wasn't spicy at all, but it adds an element of flavor. So once you've diced your jalapeno, pop that into the crock pot. If you didn't roast it with the other veggies and put it in already, give that a stir in. Next, we're going to add in some cream cheese, 4 ounces, so it's half of a block. This recipe calls for light cream cheese, but I am a full fat gal, so I use full fat cream cheese. Don't worry that it's gonna take a little bit for the cream cheese to work itself into the chili, but I have my crock pot on low at this point, and so just take your time, stir it in, and it will melt in and make your chili nice and creamy. And if that wasn't enough cheese for you, next we're going to add in pepper jack cheese, 6 ounces shredded. Now, I'm not sure why, but the recipe says just before serving to stir in the pepper jack cheese. But I say stir it in whenever you want, and then the soup can just hang out in the crock pot until you're ready to eat it. And the same thing with the pepper jack. It's gonna take a minute to melt down, but it will get there. Then I like cilantro, and if you like cilantro adds so much flavor to this already super flavorful queso chicken chili, so highly recommend chopping up some cilantro. And today I'm using my kitchen shears that I keep for food specifically. It just makes it so much easier. Trying to chop herbs is okay, but food scissors would recommend if it's not something you already have. And then we are ready to serve up our chili. Again, garnish this with some fresh, delicious cilantro and some tortilla chips. You can crush them up and put them on top of your soup, or this soup is quite thick. You can eat this as like an ultimate bean dip. I will leave the instructions and the ingredients down below in the description. If you guys like this video, like, share, subscribe, and if you like today's video, go ahead and click here on screen, and I will see you guys there.